Welcome to Module 1, Outlining with Main Idea. In this module, we will consider how to create a simple outline using main ideas of paragraphs. This will provide you with one good way of creating text notes. This is not the only good way to create an outline, but it is a good introductory method if outlining is new to you. First, we will consider how to find the main idea of a paragraph. You probably know that a paragraph is a group of sentences that are about the same idea. When you are reading, a good question to ask is, what is the big idea here? Go ahead and get your history book and turn to page 429. You may pause the video while you get it. If you haven't read yet, read the first three paragraphs. Actually, I think there are 4 paragraphs under the heading, The Rise of Jim Crow Politics. Incidentally, a question that you might ask is, who or what is Jim Crow? If you're not sure, go back into the text and find out. Look around pages 357 to 358 to review this concept. I will use the decimal form of outlining described by the Purdue Writing Lab. Here's the website for your reference. In my outline, the title will come from the section heading. So the first paragraph of this section is what we call a transition paragraph. It links what we've already read to what we'll be getting ready to read. So I'm going right to the second paragraph to start the outline. Here's a paragraph from your assigned reading. As the century drew to a close, long-standing racialism, categorizing people on the basis of race, deepened. The arrival of new immigrants from Eastern and Southern Europe and the acquisition of new overseas colonies encouraged prejudices that stridently rationalized white supremacy, segregation, and other forms of racial control. In the South, racism was enlisted in a political purpose, preventing an alliance of poor blacks and whites that might topple white conservative Democrats. So, the white supremacy campaign was coupled with another, a drive to deprive poor Southerners of their right to vote. Ostensibly directed at African Americans, these campaigns also had a broader target in the world of politics, rebellion from below, whether black or white. So what is the big idea? There are a few places we can look. One is the first sentence. In this case, the first part of the sentence is a transition, as the century drew to a close. But the paragraph is all about what? Racialism deepening. So I will call the main idea number 1. Now I want to find the supporting ideas. So my first subpoint will be 1.1. So let's look for some key ideas. The arrival of new immigrants from Eastern and Southern Europe and the acquisition of new overseas colonies encouraged prejudices that stridently rationalized white supremacy, segregation, and other forms of racial control. So the text is telling me that this diversity which I see here with immigration and acquisition of colonies, encourage this white supremacy. I'm going to change colors of my text here. Try to get all one color. There we go. Now this doesn't, of course, mean that the diversity caused the white supremacy, but it's saying that this was the response that was given. This is important. The text says that racism was used in the South to promote a political purpose. In the South, racism was enlisted in a political purpose, preventing an alliance of poor blacks and whites that might topple the white conservative Democrats. Look, racism was connected to a second agenda. This word "so" tells me that this idea is subordinate to the one I've just read. So the white supremacy campaign was coupled with another, a drive to deprive poor Southerners the right to vote. And now the author will state what he or she is arguing. The main idea can sometimes be found in the final sentence of a paragraph. Here was the target of racialism. So now let's go back to our outline. There we go. Sorry, I haven't got all my editing tools figured out yet. So here's my outline of this paragraph. Title is Jim Crow Politics. It's about how racialism deepened. So my points under that were that there's white supremacy in the face of diversity. Racism was used to separate poor whites and poor blacks in the South. And the goal of racism was to deny voting rights. What was racism's purpose? Stop lower class rebellion. Now you can move down and start your next point. So here was what we just did. Here will be point 2. And then you'll have subpoints 2.1, 2.2, and so forth. So this is the end of Module 1. Here's an assignment for class on Wednesday. Complete the outline by finding the main idea for each paragraph, then finding the supporting ideas. Since there are 2 more paragraphs in this section, you will have 2 more points or main points, plus the subordinating points, right? So you will bring an outline to class the next time we meet. And thank you for your patience with my video making.